Welcome back, listeners. I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing podcast. Today, we do have a guest with us, Miss Alma Thomas, and we're going to be speaking about how when life throws curveballs at you, how quickly she's able to bounce back from sickness, from grief, from the loss of her son, and also having a stroke and coming back from that. So she is bedridden, but we are going to go ahead and have the lovely opportunity to speak with Miss Alma. Alma, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to be on the podcast this afternoon. But a little bit about myself. I've taught Head Start for over 33 years. Life has thrown me many curveballs. In 2009, I lost my 18-year-old son. So if you've ever stood in the cemetery and seeing them lower your child into the ground, you know the pain and the sorrow that I've been through. But life didn't stop there. After that, I had a fire in my complex. My apartment didn't burn, but they condemned all the apartments, so I found myself homeless and going through social service and them putting in me in subpar places, and I was still working, so I couldn't be so far from my job. Then after the fire, I made some permanent decisions while I was in a temporary place. I didn't know it then, but I was searching for a void, to fill a void with love, looking for love in all the wrong places. And I thought I had found a Mr. Goodbar, but when I looked deep inside, he was Snicker, and he was addicted to drugs, but he was in denial. He wouldn't admit. So you can help a person that's in denial, and because I had a teenage daughter, I didn't want her to think that anything was acceptable just because you're vulnerable and want love, that you can't just accept anything. And
Absolutely.
then after my divorce in 2021, April 23rd, I had went to work and I came home and I was on a call with some authors who desired to write a book. And after the call, I went to bed and I felt a little funny, but I said, okay, if I just lay down, I'll feel better. So I laid down and I felt something weird and I tried to call my daughter and I couldn't speak. And that's when I realized that I was having a stroke and we had to wait until they had an ambulance that could accommodate me. So I was late getting to the hospital and missed that window where they can give you the medication to stop the stroke. And
Oh,
then just recently, 3 months ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And a lot of people said to me, "Oh, I bet you were devastated." I said no, because like the three Hebrew boys who said to the king, even if God don't do it, I know he's able. So whatever's the will of God is the will of God. So I wasn't devastated. I just called my prayer partners and told them what they said and was ready for this battle. I have had so many fights in my life, and Jesus stepped in. And whenever you're in a fight and Jesus steps in, something has to change. Something has to change in your life. Was I superwoman every day? No. I spent 2 years in a nursing home, and that was the worst 2 years of my life. They neglected me, and I talk. So I'm thinking they're like, it's not happening to you. But I'm saying there's a lot of older people in here that don't have anybody to visit them, to check on them. My daughter's coming every week and making sure if I call my family and tell them that something's going on, they're going to show up. But what about the people? You're doing this to me. What about the people that don't have a voice? I'm going to
Right.
have a voice for them. I'm going to speak against injustice because everybody thinks that their parent or their grandparent is being taken care of in these facilities, and a lot of them are subpar and don't take care of their residents. So that was the worst part of my life. I remember asking God, like, why? I was 45 minutes away from my family, traveling, so they couldn't come every day. So I'm like, God, why am I here? Why did you know, am I here? And God said, you needed to be in the wilderness because you're listening to a lot of voices all around you.
Hmm.
But I need you to hear my voice and do what I called you to do. Yeah, you're living all right, but you're not living according to the life that I have destined for you. And that's
Absolutely.
when I decided that I can lay here like the enemy wants me to, because the enemy told me, you'll never preach again, you'll never teach again, you might as well just lay in that bed and pass away. And I looked at the enemy. I said, God said, this is not unto death, but it's for him to get the glory.
Hmm.
So that's when I decided not to give up. I wasn't going to give up everything that I wanted to do. I was still going to give God glory. I was still going to teach. And even though writing was a little difficult, writing with one finger on the opposite hand, I didn't give up. I didn't give up on my dreams. And that's what I inspire people to do. Don't give up on your dreams. Life is like a GPS system.
Hmm.
You put in your destination and you're going one way, but then you miss the turn. And if you are traveling, do you pull to the side of the road and say, I'm not going any further because I missed my turn? So I'm just going to stop right here and don't go any further. No, you put in your GPS, your destination, and the GPS says, rerouting, rerouting, rerouting,
Yeah.
and it rewrites you to another way, but you get there not the way you plan, but the way that the GPS sends you, so you still get to your destination. And that's how life is. That you plan life. I'm
Mhm.
gonna do A, B, and C and D, and you never factor in the valleys. You
Yeah.
think you're always gonna go from one mountain to another, and you never factor in the valleys. But there's gonna be valleys in life. There's gonna be storms in life, but storms come to prepare you, not to
Absolutely.
destroy you.
Absolutely.
Storms come to prepare the way, not to stop you. So I encourage people not to give up because, excuse me, 20 years ago, it was prophesied that I wasn't going to just be national, I was going to be global. Then life happened. I put that on the back burner.
Hmm.
And 2 years ago, my apostle said to me before he died, you're not just going to be national, you're going to be international. So I'm going to name you apostle, ambassador.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking in my own limited thinking, how am I going to do that now? I'm in a bed. Um, how am I going to go to the nations? Is God going to heal me and then I'm going to go to the nations? I'm going to go to the nations in my wheelchair. How am I going to get there? But God had a plan. Even
Amen.
though the devil whispered in my ear, it was over. As of I started counting in 2024.
Hmm.
Since 2024, I've been on over 500 podcasts, conferences,
Uh-huh.
and virtual seminars all over the world. And one
Nice.
day I looked up and I was like, I'm speaking in South Africa. I'm
Hmm.
speaking in Australia. I'm speaking in Louisiana. I'm speaking here. I said, God, I've reached more people from my bed than I ever reached when I was walking. I said,
Absolutely.
God, you have a plan for my life.
Yeah.
and the enemy can delay that plan, but delay is not denial. He can't stop what God has for you. When God has something for you, it is for you. And you're going to reach your destination if you don't stop by the side of the road and give up because you made a wrong turn or a storm came in your life. You let the storm destroy you instead of preparing the way for you.
Absolutely. And so, ever since you've been bedbound, how has that affected you mentally, or how does God give you that strength to cope with that? How do you handle that?
Well, I know that this is not about me, but this
Hmm.
is about the glory of God. So
Hmm.
every time I get in the beginning, I used to feel self conscious, or people would assume that. Matter of fact, just last week, I had an encounter that I was supposed to speak, and there was four people that was supposed to speak, and they unmuted. You had to open up your camera. So when
Hmm.
I opened up my camera, of course I'm in the bed, and immediately they muted me and didn't let me open my camera. So I wrote in the chat that I'm bedbound, but this is where I speak from. And then the next day, one of the organizers called me because that night I left her a message. I feel like I was discriminated against because my name was called and I was asked to be one of the four people to explain. And then I would have explained that the reason why I'm in my bed is not because I took this meeting lightly, but this is where I speak from. And then
Absolutely.
when she finally spoke to me, then she understood. Um, that I speak from my bed. But at first, I would feel self conscious, like
Mhm.
people is judging me or thinking. So the first thing I say, like I said to you, that I'm not in the bed because I took this meeting lightly, but because this is where I speak from.
Right. Absolutely. And then you said that you have 10 books. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So tell me a little bit about at least one or two of those books. What are your
Okay.
books about?
One is called Faith, and it talks about my faith journey while I was in the nursing home. And another one is called Surviving a Stroke Against All Odds.
Yeah.
And I just did two children's coloring books. One is called Positive Affirmations for Preschoolers, and the other one is an ABC book. So
Uh-huh.
I've written, a book on leadership in the church, different, and I've been a part of like 6 or 7 anthologies where I wrote a chapter. Most of them was about my life and my testimony. Excuse me.
And so the you said surviving a stroke. So how long did it take you to write that book or these books?
And surviving a stroke, it took me 2 years because I started writing it when I was in the nursing home. So
Hmm.
it took me 2 years. The book on faith only took me 3 months.
Okay. Okay. And what was that like? Because I know you said you only had the ability to write with one finger. So what was that like for you to have that strength? Obviously, I know God gave you that strength to do that, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first I started, talking into the phone.
Hmm.
But whenever I would talk into the phone, it would keep making mistakes and I would have to keep going back. So I got frustrated with that, but I refused to give up. So I was like, all right, when I text with one finger. It got to be the same
Yeah.
as writing. So it was better to me than the talk to type because that made a lot of mistakes and I had to go back anyway and find a mistake, r- erase it and retype it. So that was frustrating. So I just gave up on doing that and just using the one finger. The most experience I had with that was that my finger would get tired.
Yeah. That I get. How long was like each day? How long did you write for?
Well, I used to have a problem sleeping. I had insomnia after I had the stroke.
Mhm.
So since I couldn't sleep, I would type for like 3 or 4 hours a night.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So through the years, through all of this happening and losing your son, what was your mental stability like? When you said that God he bounced you back, right? But obviously that walk could not have been easy. So tell us a little bit about that walk.
Well, when I lost my son,
Hmm.
I was having all these thoughts. People would say to you, "At least he's in a better place." And being a minister and serving God, I've told a lot of people, at least they're in a better place. That they're in heaven. And I thought when I was saying those words, I was comforting people. But when
Hmm.
they were said to me, I found out they weren't comforting because you haven't accepted the fact yet. And to me, a better place is at our dining room table in his bedroom. So I would think, oh, okay, send your little Johnny to the better place and send my child back. And then
Hmm.
you tell me tomorrow if you feel like they're in a better place. Or people would say, my 75-year-old grandfather had a heart attack and survived. And I would say, God, he had lived 75 years. Why did my son only live 18 years and you took him?
Right.
And I was having all these thoughts in my head. And one Sunday morning, I went to church because backtrack in the African American community and church, it's like mental health is taboo. They're like, if you're saved, especially if you're in the ministry, they slap some oil on you and pray for you.
Hmm.
So every Sunday they would slap the oil on me and pray for me, but I was still having those thoughts. I was never angry with God,
Yeah.
but I was angry.
Hmm.
So one Sunday, before they even started preaching, I ran up to the altar, hysterically crying, saying, God, I'm dirty, but I want to be clean. You have to help me because I'm not able to live with these thoughts. And everybody's telling me that I'm so strong, but spiritually inside, I'm dying. I go home every night and cry myself to sleep. The only reason why I'll even get out of bed is because I have another child that I have to show up for. But I'm dying inside. And that day, after prayer and after telling God that I needed Him to help me, I decided that I needed to go to EAP, which is my job's mental
Right.
component. I
Hmm.
said I have to go to EAP because I can't deal with these emotions. I can't deal with these triggers. I need to know because I studied psychology in college. So when we learned about the stages of grief, it was like they went in a line. First you was in denial, then you was bargaining, then
Yeah.
you was depressed for a little while, and then you finally come to acceptance. But then
Absolutely.
I realized I say, okay, one day I'm in denial. I like, I should be planning a graduation, not a funeral. And then the next day I'm right back in the same spot. And I'm like, okay, I thought I was supposed to go through these stages and everything was going to be rosy and fine. I was going to, get over this. I know I'm going to think about him and, but this is not what life is all about. So I went to to EAP and we talked about triggers, things that trigger you. What can you do before you get triggered? Like going to graduations was one of my triggers. And all my friends' kids were about the same age as my son.
Hmm.
So I realized I can't go to graduations. Even though it's my best friend's child is graduating, my godchild is graduating, I can't go to graduations because they trigger me.
Yeah.
I'll say I'll send my gift, but I can't come. I'm not strong enough to come right now. So I was able to turn my pain. She told me to turn my pain into purpose.
Amen.
And I started a scholarship a scholarship fund in my son's name.
Hmm.
And to date, I've given out 17 scholarships to African American males who have been accepted into college, and they can use it for their books, their clothes, whatever they need. Um, Once they go away to school, so I
Nice.
turn my pain into to passion because my son loved education, and before he passed away, he was accepted into Hofstra, and he had planned to be a lawyer. So
Hmm.
now my daughter is following in his footsteps. She graduated in December, and in January she's going to law school. She's taking studying and taking her LSATs. So that did me well when she chose to um keep her brother's legacy alive.
Right. Well, congratulations to your daughter. That's amazing. I love
Thank
hearing
you.
that. Absolutely. And just what are some of the names of your book? Because I know I'm going to add it to the show notes, but I know you said surviving a stroke,
Faith,
faith. Hmm.
surviving a stroke against all odds, positive affirmation for preschoolers, um, a leadership book for theology
Okay.
that deals with someone that wants to go into the ministry. So it deals with the foundation of all biblical things, like homogetics and how to prepare a sermon and
Okay.
all that. So those are the basic. The other ones that I wrote with other people, I don't even remember the names of them.
You wrote so many, you don't remember the name.
I don't remember the names. People just like, oh, I need an author. I need an author. You
Yeah.
want to be part of this anthology? I paid my money, and I was a part of it. So,
No, that's what it's about, I guess.
so anybody, anybody who wants to reach me can reach me on Facebook, author Alma. Wait, author minister Alma Thomas ministry page.
And what was the name again?
Alma Thomas ministry page on Facebook. I have two Facebooks, but if you contact me on the ministry one, if anybody is interested, and I'll send you a copy,
Okay.
photocopy of all the books that I have. If anybody's interested, they can contact me, and I will send them a signed copy because all the money that I make from selling my books and whatever is going towards my recovery efforts.
Sorry, the connection lost for a minute. You said
Okay,
all the
all the money,
money, sorry, all the money that you make is going towards what now?
my recovery effort.
Oh, okay. 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 Yeah. So that's what, again, and it was Alma Thomas Ministries, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Arthur Alma Thomas Ministry.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I'll put that in the show notes as well. But I do absolutely thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to be transparent. And if I had one more thing to say to your audience, it would be remember when you were a child and you would do something and your parents would say, "Why did you do that, Robin?" And you say, "Because so and so dared me." And they
Hmm.
said, "Well, if they dared you to jump off the building, would you?"
Yeah.
Well, on today, I double dog dare you to dream again, to reach deep inside of you and awaken those dreams that might have been falling asleep, that you thought that circumstances and situations stop you from achieving that dream, I dare you to dream again, do it again, and this time it's going to be different. It's like when Peter was fishing and Jesus got into his boat and he said, I've been fishing all night and I didn't catch anything. And Jesus said, at my word, do it again. I'm
Mhm.
telling your audience, at my word, do it again. This
Yeah.
time it's going to be different.
Amen. I love that because a lot of us have stopped dreaming. It's like people don't dream anymore, and
Right.
you got to keep those dreams alive. So I
Yeah.
love that. But again, thank you so much. And thank you to all my listeners. Again, I'm Robin Black, and this is It's All About Healing Podcast. Everyone, stay blessed.